Rambling can either mean to go for a nice little walk, or it can mean to talk absolute rubbish. This podcast is both. Join me as I walk around the towns and cities and highways and byways and canals and rivers and hills and fields and forests of the northwest of England and further afield, all the while giving you rambling talk. Okay, hello everybody. It is Wednesday, February 10th, and we're out for another little toddle around. Ooh, another skip. Still no plasterboard. Anyway, it's February 10th and the sun is actually shining, and it's actually got a heck of a lot warmer. It was bloody freezing this morning when I went out to walk the doggy. You know, ice and whatnot everywhere, but it's warmed up considerably. And we're taking another fairly local walk today. Reddish Vale. It's part of the Trans-Pennine Trail, actually, which I am very lucky to say actually runs directly behind my house, which is really cool. One day I am going to walk the lot, I promise. It's so basically it runs right across the north of England from Stockport on the west coast to Hornsea in Yorkshire on the east coast, and it's 215 miles long. I've cycled a fair bit of it before. Just one day I just fancied a mooch, just had to get the hell out of town just for a little bit, as you do, stretch your legs. And I cycled sort of down the Mersey way, the River Mersey, which runs through Stockport, and kind of followed it all the way to Widnes before I realised I didn't really know how to get back any different ways, so we just turned around and came straight back. That took me most of the day. Not too sure what the distance is there, but Stockport to Widnes and back, it's fairly far. But today we're just going to do, a nice local walk through my local park to Reddish Vale. So it's a lovely day for it. Actually. And you know what I quite like about my hometown? From the town centre, which is obviously, urban, it's a town centre, and that being right close to the motorway, it has a nice proximity to Manchester. But even though it's very urban, from my local park, you can see the snow-capped hills off in the distance. They look really nice. I like being so close to, the countryside, but still being nice and urban. So everything is within reach, which is amazing, I think, personally. So we're just entered the kind of wooded urban area behind the Lancashire Hill Flats in Stockport, walking down by the River Tame, not quite on the banks, but get close to the river now, just as I'm crossing under the A road here behind Meadow Mill, which is one of the old, very many cotton mills from around the area, built in 1880 apparently. I'm hitting you with a load of facts at the moment because I got a little bit of feedback from a tester episode from a few friends and test listeners, and they say, don't just give your own blabberings, man, we want to hear some facts. So apparently Meadow Mill was built in 1880 and was one of the many cotton mills. And I'm not too sure when it was disused. I haven't done that fucking research, but in my lifetime it's never been a cotton mill. Most of the cotton industry shut down in the 60s, didn't it? I'm fairly certain. For many, many years it was kind of I remember it as a place that had loads of businesses in, like tile warehouses and gyms and such. For the past, got to be at least 5 years, maybe more, it's been out of use. It's actually been bought up now by a developer to be turned into luxury flats. So there's a lot of redevelopment, you know, going on in Stockport at the moment, which I, for one, think is a good thing. Yeah, the town centre for many years was a bloody wasteland, really. You know, there were no pubs open. Well, no good ones anyway. When I used to go out drinking down the town centre when I was, you know, too young to go drinking, really. 16, 17, 18. Obviously, 18 I'm old enough, but I was drinking there before legal age. But it was shit then. Like, there was a place that any locals will know of from that era called Bambuza. Used to be the old Yates's prior to that, but that was before my time. And I remember at Bambuza in the sort of early to mid 2000s, we're talking here, started off normal bar, I believe, normal prices. Then as clientele got more and more slim, it went down to £9.99 entry, and you can drink as much as you want. Then I believe it went down to £8 entry, and you could drink as much as you want. And before it closed, I'm fairly certain nights it was £5.99 entry, and you could drink as much as you want of certain very, very cheap alcohols. And my God, you saw some sights in there. Face tattoos aplenty. Yeah, but in the past 5 years or so, the town centre's actually become really... It was, prior to the pandemic, starting to boom. You were getting nice new kind of wine bar-y type places opening, not just the old man pubs. And the Baker's Vaults has been under new hands for about 10 years now, I think, maybe. It used to be an old haunt of mine back in the day, but it was a bit more of a spit and sawdust kind of place. But yeah, it was all done up nicely, and you know, a fairly different clientele to the old biker pub that I used to really love. But not necessarily a bad thing. It was bringing money into the town centre, and all these new bars were starting to bring money into the town centre. But the pandemic has hit, and you know, I'm sure certain pubs, new bars, will not last it. I'm sure they won't. One of them, which I really quite like, Remedy, I know for a fact that's not reopening. Out walking the dog in the town centre a few weeks back, a month or so ago, saw a little notice up on the door saying it's changed hands. So it's such a shame, because it's a really nice bar, really nice pub, which hasn't lasted. It's a damn shame. Let's hope a lot of these bars can find a way to survive. Right, now I've actually just realised that I'm on the wrong side of the river to where I want it to be, because I want to make sure that I properly go past Brinnington, because there's a very interesting thing that happened there last year. So I'm just going to double back on myself and go into the correct entrance to Reddish Vale. Okay, so now I'm on the right side, I'm going to hit you with some cold hard facts. And I say cold because it is cold. The sun has gone and it's snowing again. So it says here, because I'm lucky, I've got one of these little information placards. The Transpennine Trail was the country's first multi-user national route for walkers and cyclists. Who knew it? And it says here that the path on my left, as I'm going up towards Reddish, used to be landfill. Wasn't that lovely? It was cleaned up in the 1970s. Well, isn't that interesting? And I learned earlier that the word Tame, as in the River Tame, and the River Thames in London as well, is an old Celtic word, meaning either dark or flowing. So yeah, that's why there's loads of places called Tame or Thames. So yeah.
Banking engine to assist the freight trains, because it was all freight, wasn't it? This was a freight line.
Is that where it ran? Did it run through here? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a 2-mile stretch. The deadline
Yeah.
was a 2-mile stretch running through the country park. The service needed a banking engine to assist freight trains climbing from Portwood, which is down there.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Through the Bridgeton tunnel.
Do you remember it yourself?
No.
No.
Because we just thought, going up that hill, where they've got like a green surface down there, haven't they?
Mm.
I just thought that no train could have got up here.
No, it's steep, isn't it?
It didn't. It needed the banking engine. I don't know what a banking engine is. I don't know enough about trains.
No, can't say I do.
To assist the freight trains climbing up the virgin valleys of the Tame and the Goit, right.
I like the fact that they've got all these little bits just to tell you. They're fairly new, but they're very, well, especially when there's very little else to do at the moment.
I know. I didn't know they were on here. They weren't
There's one down by the weir.
Down there?
Well,
is there? Right.
Oh, they're all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dotted about. I don't think there's any more further on, is there now?
Well, we'll see.
This one. Well, am I?
Well,
Can you see the other end of it? Can you see the white bit?
yeah.
See you around, ladies. Nice talking. Oh, that was cool. Like they have the, the little information placards up everywhere, and just to older ladies, shall we say, to be polite, probably in their early 70s. I was hoping they might have some, some stories about them remembering it as children, but unfortunately not. They were probably just born just about that time, it being 2021 now, obviously. But yeah, nice to talk to a couple of ladies there, albeit briefly.
Banking engine to assist the freight trains, because it was all freight, wasn't it? This was a freight line.
Is that where it ran? Did it run through here? Yeah.
Well, this was a 2-mile stretch. The deadline
Yeah.
was a 2-mile stretch running through the country park. The service needed a banking engine to assist freight trains climbing from Portwood, which is down there.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Through the Bridgeton tunnel.
Do you remember it yourself?
No.
No.
Because we just thought, going up that hill, where they've got like a green surface down there, haven't they? I just thought that no train could have got up here.
No, it's steep, isn't it?
It didn't. It needed the banking engine. I don't know what a banking engine is. I don't know enough about trains.
No, can't say I do.
To assist the freight trains climbing up the virgin valleys of the Tame and the Goit, right.
I like the fact that they've got all these little bits just to tell you. They're fairly new, but they're very, well, especially when there's very little else to do at the moment.
I know. I didn't know they were on here. They weren't
There's one down by the weir.
down there.
Well,
is there? Right.
Oh, they're all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dotted about. I don't think there's any more further on, is there now?
Well, we'll see.
This one. Well, am I?
Well,
Can you see the other end of it? Can you see the white bit?
yeah.
See you around, ladies. Nice talking. Oh, that was cool. Like they have the, the little information placards up everywhere, and just to older ladies, shall we say, to be polite, probably in their early 70s. I was hoping they might have some stories about them remembering it as children, but unfortunately not. They were probably just born just about that time, it being 2021 now, obviously. But yeah, nice to talk to a couple of ladies there, albeit briefly. I've now reached the Bridgeton Tunnel link. Opened on the 12th of January 1863. So if you heard that conversation, this is where the train came through. It's pretty grim now, it's covered in graffiti. At least it's lit, it's well lit now, but it's like it's covered in graffiti these days. Let's just see if it says here when it actually shut. It's hard to tell because it's actually covered in graffiti and burnt and all sorts. I think it says it's covered by a gouge and a burn and some graffiti, but as far as I can tell, it says it closed its doors to passengers on the 1st of December 1967, I think it says. And now it's well lit, but it looks like the kind of place where somebody might be murdered. Isn't that interesting? I'm not being funny, but why the fuck do people do that? Pick up, go to the trouble to pick up their dogs at shit with a black dog shit bag, and obviously there's no bins immediately nearby you, are there? So instead of holding on to it for 10-15 minutes until they can find the bin, or even throwing it where it can't be seen into the bushes, which if I'm miles from anywhere I can be guilty of occasionally. Bear in mind, pretty much all dog shit bags that you buy these days are biodegradable, so it's not the end of the world. You know, you could dig a little hole with your heel, put a rock over it. I've been known to do that when I'm miles from anywhere. But why do people feel the need to hang bags of dog shit off trees like it's some kind of Christmas bauble, some kind of Christmas novelty item? So it actually looks like there's you know, it's some kind of dog shit tree. Why do people do that? I really need to get inside the head of somebody who does that and think, why do I want to just hang it there? Do they think it looks nice? Do they think they're putting it somewhere and they'll come back and get it later? No, it just makes the area look fucking hanging. Anyway, that's that rant over. And breathe in the good energy, block out the bad. Okie doke, slight little detour off the main path to the actual country park. But I forgot about the way, which is pretty cool. Well, if you like waterfalls. And it's got one of them little posts up with a little bit of information on it. So I may as well just read it out verbatim in my best narrator's voice. So, Harrison's Way. James Harrison, a cotton merchant, speculator and developer, bought the manor of Bridgeton in the late 1780s. He also acquired the manor of Reddish on the opposite side of the river. This gave him water rights along the section of the River Tame north of Stockport. By 1790, Harrison had 3 factories on Portwood and others were to follow. To provide water power, he created a substantial miracle known as Portwood Cut. It carried water across the Tame between his Reddish and Bridgeton estates. So we are just passing an area known locally in the suburb of Bridgeton as the Three Sisters, which is basically just 3 kind of big council tower blocks in the sort of, you know, horseshoe semicircle kind of shape. And I thought I would look up some facts about the suburb of Bridgeton. And the first thing that comes up on Wikipedia, Bridgeton is a north-eastern suburb of Stockport, Greater Manchester, England, on a bluff above a bend in the Tame Valley. It was reported to have the highest prevalence of depression in England. No, I didn't bloody know that. And it's lovely to hear that. But it kind of adds up. Well, maybe it adds up, I don't want to speculate. Because last May, around the woods in this area, there were some remains found. So yeah, basically there was parts of a woman chopped up somewhere not too far from here in the Vale. It was never revealed in the papers where exactly on the Vale it was, but it can't have been too far from this part of Bridgeton, sort of in between the Three Sisters and Reddish Vale Golf Course. And yeah, the remains of a woman were found chopped up. There is somebody who was arrested, her husband. So the lady's name, let's just get this right, let's just be respectful. Yvonne Lawson McCann was found chopped up here, and her husband, Thomas McCann, he's in custody now. There was a pre-trial thing, whatever it's called, and there's going to be an actual trial taking place in March 2021. But he's currently locked up for it right now. What evidence there was, I don't know. The papers haven't reported on that. Not that I could find, but yeah, March this year, the actual trial will be taking place, and I'm sure that, you know, the local and the national news will cover that. And yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on that because, well, not far from my house, and there was a murder, so it's kind of interesting. Well, there you go. You can probably hear the dirt bikes and whatnot running around the estates in Brynny, what Bridgeton is known as locally. Yeah, it's crazy really, because Bridgeton is it's one of the poorer areas of Stockport. Right next to it, you've got a big, really pretty golf course. I mean, like, are the days that golf are being thought of as, you know, middle class pastime changing and now it's more working class? It's been around since, I think it's about 1912 it's been around. Yeah, local industrialist, forget his bloody name, you know, invested in it in, I'm almost positive it was 1912 when it was built. So it's been here over 100 years. But yeah, I mean, you can literally hear a kid fucking booming around on his scrambler right next to a really posh looking golf course. It's just a real contrast. So you get all sorts in Stockport, what can we say? Okay, so we're finally down to the actual country park area of Reddish Vale. You know, the bit where it's not just wooded areas and dead bodies. It's actually cool history and cool stuff to look at. First thing you see, obviously, when you get down here is the beautiful viaduct, 17 arch viaducts, or is it 16? Some reports say 16, some say 17. I'll count them myself in a minute, but there's no point in counting them live. But yeah, man, I said about Stockport viaducts, like, it's cool, but this one's cool, like, there's no denying it, but I didn't have any facts for you on the Stockport viaduct. I just said, it's cool, it looks nice. Whereas, I've done a bit of research this time, and I can actually tell you some bits and bobs. So, built in 1875 as part of the Romiley, which is a, you know, village in the borough of Stockport nearby, to Ashford in Oxfordshire. Yeah. And local legend has it, as it were, that, you know, when it was built in the late 19th century, 1875, there was houses around here a lot, you know, down by the river, and local legend says that a local witch, you know, just some local crazy lady, I suppose, you know, well, people, you know, maybe I'm being a bit too judgmental, people do believe in witches. I don't, I think it's all bollocks. But a local witch is apparently said to have cursed the area. Basically, some local busybody officially announced that she was pissed off with the building of a viaduct right next to her house and cursed people. You know, this apparently is local legend, but nobody ever succumbed to anything. So yeah, that's the local legend. But, you know, a bit more nice than some local bullshit legend is apparently during World War II, when obviously there was a lot of rationing, it was, you know, very poor area. Local wealthy passengers used to apparently throw coal down for the local kids to collect up for their own houses so that they wouldn't go cold in winter. So that's nice. That's nice, I think. I quite like that story. You know, people sharing the wealth. Okay, so I've now crossed the River Tame across to the actual country park sort of main area where the car park and such is. And we're just headed into now what is the so-called quote unquote butterfly garden. Now, I've been here loads and I've never seen a butterfly. You know, it was opened in 1999 as a butterfly garden, but most interestingly, I think, is what used to be the Reddish Vale Print Works. It was, you know, it became the Calico Print Works later. It was opened in 1780. Yeah, it actually stood here until 1975. And yeah, it was a big massive print works that employed hundreds and hundreds of hundreds of people. And yeah, and the River Goyt here, depending on what colour they were using, you know, to print, actually ran different colours. So it may have run red or blue or yellow, depending on what dye they used. Yeah, it's like they had different houses in the print works, like the Madder House. It was called that basically because the madder is a plant that they use to produce the red dye. So yeah, man, that's fascinating. Obviously they didn't really care too much about polluting the environment back then. Would it be socially acceptable for a 30-something-year-old man to start playing manhunt again? Because some of my fondest memories of when I was a sort of young teenager was out playing manhunt in the woods with my mates. I don't know if you called it something else where you were from, but you know, basically you had one or sometimes two people hunting, if you were in a bigger group that was. And all you gave them kind of maybe 5-10 minutes, and the people who were being hunted just, you know, ran off, got into the woods and hid. And the idea was you had to get back to base without being caught by the hunter. And it was just such great fun. I used to love doing it, man. I used to climb up in trees, and quite often I was quite good at it. I suppose the adult version of that is sort of playing, you know, paintball and stuff like that, but yeah, never really got into paintballing. I'd love to, but you know, just never did. Let's go paintballing, everyone. Who wants to go paintballing when we all can? I do. So I'm sure you can hear the birds tweeting there. It's actually, even here in winter, even though there's not a lot growing, it's actually really nice, the little community garden here. Because I've been past this a million times, but never thought, what's a community garden? But it's actually quite pretty. Obviously not much growing at this time of year, but there's still a hell of a lot of birds around. It's just right next to the Tame House. It's like an old, it looks Tudor style, but it was built in 1920 for the management of the Calico Reddish Vale print works. And they apparently went through, in the early 1920s, went through several managers, so it must have been a bit of trouble there. Nobody wanted to manage a print works. Maybe the workers were hard work, I don't know. More likely there was some kind of corruption happening. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it was corruption. I'm not going to blame the workers. Nah. Yeah, it's a nice old Tudor style house actually. Looks nice now. Apparently by the kind of 60s it was all wrecked and ruined and falling apart and derelict. But it was bought by the council in 1980, and yeah, it looks nice again now. Overlooking the garden, the frozen pond. Yeah, I do like these community gardens because they are, in essence, looked after for free by members of the community. You know, generally retired people, but it's nice that they are looking out for their own community. So I'm just on the sort of main pond area bit of the Reddish Vale Country Park, and it really is really nice. You know, it's been extended several times since it was originally here. It is man-made, mind. But yeah, it was extended several times. That was the main reason that the print works was here actually, because of the water source. God, look at all them bloody seagulls. There's loads and loads of swans and ducks and whatnot. But do us a favour, people, yeah? Don't feed bread to these animals. A little tiny bit would be fine, but loads of people coming down here and just chucking full loaves of bread on, and it makes the birds ill. And the stuff that doesn't get eaten just floats on the water's top, and it gets all bacteria and shit on it, and it, you know, harms the fish and the birds. So, you know, birds aren't meant to eat processed bread. They're meant to eat grain and eat bugs and stuff as well. So bring a bag of bugs or a bag of grain. ideally. Just down by the banks of the river now, on an area colloquially known as Bridgeton Beach. It's only a tiny little strip of sand just by the river, but mad story I actually learned about recently is back in 1960 this was actually home to a ski jump in Reddish. Yeah, I know, it's mad, isn't it? But basically what it was two Norwegian students. They were students at Manchester University in the late 50s. And obviously, being Scandinavians, they were mad on, winter sports. So what they decided to do was build a ski jump, a 40-foot high scaffold, just right down by the river there. And they actually, obviously there's no snow in Stockport, so what they did is they shipped 20 tons of snow from the Cairngorms in Scotland and combined that with 10 tons of fake snow that had come from Chester for some reason. And yeah, there was a 40-foot high scaffold ski jump which had barely enough snow on it, and at the other end it was just piles of grass and hay bales for where you could land. And there's lots of pictures and there's a little bit of footage online, some black and white footage as well, and it's absolutely madness. Like, it's so unsafe. Like, they charged entry to come down and watch it. They were raising money for World Refugee Day. They were charging 2 and 6, which I believe is 2 shillings and 6pence. God knows what that is in modern money. But a load of the local kids and hoodlums didn't want to pay that, so they sneaked in, and they even apparently set fire to a load of the grass and hay bales just for shits and giggles, and get this, took bloody nuts and bolts out of the scaffold. So it was become unsafe and it was rattling. It didn't collapse. So imagine it collapsed. Like, even 60 something years ago, you had local scallies, local scallywags, local hoodlums trying to fucking kill people. Would you believe it? Literally trying to collapse the scaffolding. Imagine the scaffolding did collapse. That would have been a disaster. People would have died. I mean, yeah. Don't think people were caught and charged. There's no record of people being caught and being charged. But yeah, there were local scallies trying to fucking ruin everything for everybody. Would you believe it? And I just love that story. Like, now my mum wasn't in England at the time. I was going to say I'll have to ask my mum about it, but 1960, my mum didn't come until England until 1962 from Poland. So I bet she knew people that knew about it though. But yeah, mad Norwegian students studying in Manchester, and they were Eric Hoff and Lars L. No way near enough snow. And there were so many injuries. People broke wrists and whatnot, and broke ankles, I'm fairly certain. But yeah, apparently in 1975 there was actually plans for there to be a safari park here as well. Would you believe it? There's actually planning put in for there to be a safari park in Reddish and Stockport. It'd be a hell of a sight going across the viaduct on the train, looking out and seeing herds of wildebeest going through Stockport. Yeah, nothing ever came of it, but it was an official plan for there to be. I'd love it. I would have loved it if there was a safari park in Stockport. Probably wouldn't have been very fair on the animals, like, a bit cold for them. But they have safari parks now elsewhere, don't they? Knowsley Safari Park. Why couldn't there be Reddish Safari Park? Probably the kids from the local estates would come down and shoot at the lions with air rifles or something. So yeah, probably not for the best. Just down by the banks of the river now, on an area colloquially known as Bridgeton Beach. It's only a tiny little strip of sand just by the river, but mad story I actually learned about recently is back in 1960 this was actually home to a ski jump in Reddish. Yeah, I know, it's mad, isn't it? But basically what it was two Norwegian students. They were students at Manchester University in the late 50s. And obviously, you know, being Scandinavians, they were mad on, you know, winter sports. So what they decided to do was build a ski jump, a 40-foot high scaffold, just right down by the river there. And they actually, obviously there's no snow in Stockport, so what they did is they shipped 20 tons of snow from the Cairngorms in Scotland and combined that with 10 tons of fake snow that had come from Chester for some reason. And yeah, there was a 40-foot high scaffold ski jump which had barely enough snow on it, and at the other end it was just piles of grass and hay bales for where you could land. And there's lots of pictures and there's a little bit of footage online, some black and white footage as well, and it's absolutely madness. Like, it's so unsafe. Like, they charged entry to come down and watch it. They were raising money for World Refugee Day. They were charging 2 and 6, which I believe is 2 shillings and 6pence. God knows what that is in you know, modern money. But a load of the local kids and hoodlums didn't want to pay that, so they sneaked in, and they even apparently set fire to a load of the grass and hay bales just for shits and giggles, and get this, took bloody nuts and bolts out of the scaffold. So it was become unsafe and it was rattling. It didn't collapse. Imagine it collapsed. Like, even 60 something years ago, you had local scallies, local scallywags, local hoodlums trying to fucking kill people. Would you believe it? Literally trying to collapse the scaffolding. Imagine the scaffolding did collapse. That would have been a disaster. People would have died. I mean, yeah. Don't think people were caught and charged. There's no record of people, you know, being caught and being charged. But yeah, there were local scallies trying to fucking ruin everything for everybody. Would you believe it? And I just love that story. Like, you know what? Now, my mum wasn't in England at the time. I was going to say I'll have to ask my mum about it, but 1960, my mum didn't come until England until 1962 from Poland. So I bet she knew people that knew about it though. But yeah, mad Norwegian students studying in Manchester, and they were Eric Hoff and Lars L. No way near enough snow. And there were so many injuries. You know, people broke wrists and whatnot, and broke ankles, I'm fairly certain. But yeah, apparently in 1975 there was actually plans for there to be a safari park here as well. Would you believe it? There's actually planning put in for there to be a safari park in Reddish and Stockport. You know, it'd be a hell of a sight going across the viaduct on the train, looking out and seeing herds of wildebeest going through Stockport. Yeah, nothing ever came of it, but it was an official plan for there to be. I'd love it. I would have loved it if there was a safari park in Stockport. Probably wouldn't have been very fair on the animals, like, a bit cold for them. But they have safari parks now elsewhere, don't they? You know, Knowsley Safari Park. Why couldn't there be Reddish Safari Park? Probably the kids from the local estates would come down and shoot at the lions with air rifles or something. So yeah, probably not for the best. Tell you what, it always fascinates me when you see graffiti in such fucking insane places. Now, on the top of the arches on the viaduct, which have got to be, oh God knows, I'm not great at estimating feet, but 80, 90, 100 feet high at least. And on the side, there's graffiti there. Just saying ridiculous things. British soldier for one, and just like probably just local people's names, but like they are the right way up, like, but they will have literally had to get up onto the railway bridge with paint or spray paint or whatever, and kind of hangs semi upside down 100 feet above the ground just to write fucking ridiculous graffiti. It's insane. Like, I did my fair share of mad shit when I was a kid. Like, I don't know if I would have hung off the side of a 100-foot high railway bridge just to write Brinny Soldier or Dowie Was Here. Steak, it just says steak, it just says steak. Why is the word steak up there? It's mental. It's the mentality. Well, I suppose kids were stupid. I was stupid, but I don't think I was that stupid. Wonder if anyone ever died. You know, hanging off a bridge doing graffiti. Dave-O was here. Oops, you've fallen 100 feet down onto your head, broken your neck into a million pieces. Was it worth it, mate? Was it worth it? I'm saying, was it worth it? He was probably a legend to his mates, him. So I've gone through the arches to the other side of the viaduct now. And this is where the little sort of beachy area is. It's like a bit of a stone and sand beach. It's only small, but it's quite nice. And you know, people used to come here for days out all the time, sort of in the 60s and, you know, 70s, before international travel was so easy. Yeah, it's nice. It's quite nice looking. Not too far from here, actually. The just on the edge of Denton Brook. Yeah, just not far from here whatsoever. You know, maybe, you know, 50, 100 feet, if that. There used to be a corn mill, actually. Corn mill that had been a, you know, records show it back as early as 1300, would you believe it? The local people who lived in the local area, they were sort of farming people, but they didn't have methods of processing corn. They used to come and trade, you know, trade livestock or labour, so they could get their, you know, their corn milled and, you know, make flour and, you know, then make bread. Life be easier. Fucking hell, we have it easy these days, don't we? Imagine living in a time before bread. Fucking hell, not even sliced bread, but just having bread easily. Like before you really had the methods to mill your own corn to make flour. You know, a time pre-flour. And here's me pissing and moaning because I can't fucking find something to do with my furlough time. Well, I suppose this is it. This is what I'm finding is doing my furlough time. Whinging about how bad it is whilst learning about how hard people had it back in the 12th century. Because yeah, there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, like that mill, apparently, a corn mill. Interesting story, in 1675 apparently it was owned by William Stopford, the local industrialist, who on his side, I think he had the Bridgeton side, I believe. Let me just check me notes. And most people do podcasts, like, they act like they're not checking notes, like they just know everything off the top of their head. What a load of absolute bollocks. Yeah, so William Stopford owned the mill on the Reddish side, and Robert Hyde owned the Denton side of the land that didn't have the mill in it. And he increased the size of the pond, which then flooded old Bobby Hyde's Denton land. And he was pissed off about it, obviously. And he went down to build it. Old William Stopford went down to try and offer compensation to Robert Hyde, who slammed the door in his face, yeah. And what he did then, old Robbie Hyde, he went down to actually try and take the mill by force. Yeah, he was stopped by your man, and his miller actually kind of stopped him taking it by force, fucked him off, and they settled out of court apparently. Don't know what sum for, but yeah, it's an area of much contention between local landowners. Okie dokie, so that's me leaving the actual country park bit now and heading on back home. Walking on back, we've seen everything interesting that we have to see. Ah, shit. Except for this path, which is actually flooded. Can I be arsed going back, even though it's only a little bit? Nah, that's it. I'll just scramble up the side. The trees are here. Hopefully they don't fucking fall in the frozen, iced over little bit. Flooded path. Just a bit muddy, no problem. But yeah, I think I've seen everything of shit interest. I mean, I'm sure me falling in some frozen water would be of interest, but not to me it wouldn't. But let's just climb up here. Oh, shit. Ooh. We're sensing it. But yeah, we've seen everything of interest, I think. So we're gonna head on back home. Oh shit, shit. Ah, fucking hell. Fell in the mud. Hey, and I didn't die. A little bit muddy, but not the end of the world. Whew. Out the other side. Could have just bloody gone back, couldn't I, really? Never mind. Anyway, time to head back home. Hopefully you enjoyed my rambling talk today. It was rambling. I researched a couple of facts and figures. Hopefully they were of some interest to you. I don't have social media set up for the podcast just yet, but I will. And if you could hit me a little follow. I am on Spotify now and pretty much everywhere else you can find podcasts. But yeah, if you gave me a little follow, and you know, if you have any comments or any opinions, or if you just think I'm a dick, you know, hit me up, let me know. Let's engage. Let's make friends. But yeah, man. Signing off now. See you again soon. Take it easy. Bye.